Have you ever heard of a modern-day clairvoyant whose predictions seem, well, actually to come true?
You hear stories sometimes.
Right. And what if one of their biggest, maybe most unsettling forecasts is like right around the corner, July 2025?
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Exactly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the really fascinating world of Ryo Tatsuki. She's a Japanese manga artist, but also a self-proclaimed clairvoyant.
Right.
And we've got a whole stack of sources here, Wikipedia, news articles, even some skeptical investigations to try and unpack her visions.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is basically to look at her history of predictions.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see which ones seem documented, in her work, which ones are maybe contested or, frankly, fabricated, and then figure out what to make of this latest pretty big forecast. We're really focusing just on what we can verify from the sources, trying to help you cut through all the noise out there.
Okay, so before we get into the predictions themselves, maybe let's just quickly set the stage. Who exactly is Ryo Tatsuki?
Well, like you said, she's a Japanese manga artist. She put out this dream-based manga anthology. It's called The Future I Saw.
Right, The Future I Saw.
That first came out July 1st, 1999. But what's really interesting, and probably why we're talking about her now, is that it got reprinted in 2021 and again in 2022. And these reprints had new stuff, new entries, commentary.
Ah, okay. That added to the whole mystique, I bet.
Totally. And connecting this to the bigger picture, her reputation, it's really blown up. She's even been called Japan's new Baba Vanga.
Wow, like the Bulgarian mystic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of these supposedly accurate past visions she's had, it's gotten her a lot of attention, especially across Asia.
Okay, so let's get into those past predictions because, honestly, it's hard to ignore the uncanny timing on some of them. From looking at the sources, which ones really stand out? What makes them so, compelling?
Well, what's kind of insightful about these hits, maybe, isn't just the dates, but how they tap into that human desire to find patterns.
Yeah.
So, for instance, she apparently had a dream back on November 24th, 1976. In it, she predicted Freddie Mercury would die of AIDS.
Okay.
And he tragically passed away on November 24th, 1991. Same date, 15 years later.
Whoa, okay, that's specific.
Right. Then there's the Great Hanshin earthquake, the Kobe one. She dreamt on January 2nd, 1995, that a Kobe quake would happen in 15 days or 15 years.
15 days or 15 years.
And the earthquake actually hit just 15 days later, January 17th, 1995.
Okay. That's pretty chilling. And wasn't there one about the 2011 tsunami?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This might be the most chilling one. The cover of her 1999 manga, the original one, apparently illustrated a disaster happening in March 2011.
On the cover from 1999.
Yeah. And of course, the massive Tohoku earthquake and tsunami hit Japan on March 11th, 2011.
Those dates are striking. But, aren't there often ways to kind of interpret these visions after the fact? Or maybe some confirmation bias when we look back?
Absolutely.
How do the skeptics deal with these apparent hits while, maybe other predictions didn't pan out?
That is exactly the critical lens we need. Because while those timings are compelling, you're right. It's also really crucial to note that other claims didn't hold up.
Like what?
Well, predictions reportedly about a Sakhalin earthquake or even the COVID-19 pandemic, these were later challenged or even identified as outright hoaxes by skeptical investigators.
Hoaxes, like not even from her.
Exactly. Some specific claims, like that COVID-19 prediction that floated around in 2020, investigators found it was totally fabricated by people pretending to be her. It wasn't in her original published work at all.
Ah, okay. So verifying the source is key.
Definitely.
So, okay, as if the past wasn't wild enough, what's this new warning? The one in the recent reprints that seems to have everyone talking right now.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting for the immediate future. So in that 2021 reprint, Tatsuki included a new, very specific warning. It's for a mega disaster in July 2025.
A mega disaster? What kind?
She described a massive undersea fissure opening up somewhere between Japan and the Philippines. And she said this would trigger a tsunami 3 times larger than the huge one in 2011.
3 times. Wow. Is there a specific date?
Well, several news outlets often cite a very precise time, July 5th, 2025, between 4:1 a.m. and 5 a.m.
That's incredibly specific.
It is. Although it's worth noting, some sources mention slightly different details about the cause. Some talk about asteroids, others volcanic eruptions, or this kind of imagery of a boiling sea. So a bit of variation there.
Okay, so given how specific that date and time is, the immediate question for a lot of you listening might be, what are the real-world impacts? Should people planning travel be worried?
Well, the impact is actually already being felt, according to our sources. Tourism to Japan from East Asia has apparently dropped, like, significantly.
How significant?
Figures like 50 to 80% down during spring and early summer 2025. Lots of flight cancellations, too.
Wow. So people are reacting.
Definitely. And it shows how powerful a narrative like this can be, even without, scientific backing. It affects real-world behavior, the economy.
But what did the scientists say?
Well, seismologists are very clear. There is just no scientific method right now to predict the exact timing of earthquakes, period.
Right.
They label many of these kinds of warnings as unspecific or simply unscientific.
And I assume the official response in Japan matches that.
It does. Japanese authorities are urging calm. They're basically saying these fears are just rumors, not based on any actual evidence or data.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, Ryo Tatsuki is clearly this fascinating, maybe controversial figure. We've got some eerily accurate-seeming past predictions, others that were pretty definitively debunked.
Right.
And now, this really significant current warning for a potential mega-tsunami around July 5th, 2025.
Yeah, so as that date, July 5th, gets closer, if you're concerned, the crucial thing is to watch the official data from places like the Japan Meteorological Agency.
Not prophetic art.
Exactly. Rely on science, not prophetic art. And if you are planning travel to Japan, just monitor the legitimate travel advisories from official government agencies.
Good advice. You know, this whole deep dive into Ryo Tatsuki's predictions, it really brings up a bigger question for all of us, doesn't it?
What's that?
In this age where information, and maybe misinformation, spread so fast, how do we actually tell the difference? How do we separate these really intriguing stories from scientifically verifiable facts, especially when it involves something as serious as a potential natural disaster?
That's a really important point.
Yeah, it kind of encourages all of us, I think, to be more critical about where information comes from and maybe question that impulse to just believe.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to KnowCurrent for more updates that matter. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a thing. Catch you in the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay curious.